Go ahead.
No. Since time immemorial, the topic of tyrants reigning over their respective countries has been quite a prevalent one, and an area of politics that a lot of people in today's societies try to stay away from. You may be wondering who and what is a tyranny. A tyranny is more of a what, as it is a cruel and or oppressive government. Usually it is both. The who of a tyranny is called the tyrant. They are the rule of the tyrannical country that they oppress. In times of ancient Rome, they used to have many different leaders. In the modern day, the official name for the type of government a tyranny usually falls under is called a totalitarian dictatorship. The more known countries that have been under a totalitarian dictatorship are North Korea, China, Germany, and many, many more. Countries considered to be under totalitarian dictatorship regime currently are Joseon Inminjunjuning Gongwanguk, which is translated to the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, and the state of Eritrea. Over the course of history, there's only one effective way a tyranny is to end. Totalitarian dictatorships are flawed. Capitalism is also flawed. The purpose of the speech is to figure out the lesser of the two evils, to compare the two political systems and the effectiveness of those systems in the country they reside in. To get a grasp and be able to understand the origins of tyranny, we need to go back a few hundred years to when the first tyrant reigned. The first person to officially be named a tyrant was a Greek man named Pisistratus. The first person to officially he reigned till his death in 527 BCE. Pisistratus had given birth to two sons named Hippias and Hipparchus, which then succeeded their father, Pisistratus. Then in the year 510, Hipparchus became expelled by King Cleomens of Sparta. This back in the day was the end game of the age of tyrants, but tyranny had only just begun. You may now be asking, these tyrannies ended, but how? The only real way a tyranny ends is by overthrowing the people in power by causing a coup d'etat to fight back against the oppressive government system that is a totalitarian dictatorship. A coup d'etat is done mostly in the form of a military takeover, by literally fighting the oppressors for the right to reign or not to reign. As of today, not many totalitarian dictatorships exist, thankfully, or else I'd probably not even be able to be speaking today to you about this topic. In the case of a more recent leader, but yet a tyrant, that rose to power long ago was Temujin. He is to say a mid-game tyrant in terms of the timeline of totalitarian dictators. Temujin, also known as Genghis Khan, was known for many things: killing his half-brother in an argument, executing an imperial family for revenge, boiling his enemies alive, etc., etc. But most importantly, he was in his day the conqueror and tyrant of what was at the time the largest contiguous empire the world has ever seen, with a slightly large landmass of 28 million square kilometers of land, which was 16% of the world's landmass at the empire's peak. The empire also accounted for 25% of the world's population during the years of 1270 to 1309. In his earlier years on his conquest to conquer the world, to avenge his father, he ordered his troops to kill anything and anyone over 3 feet tall, which in a way was his method to his wrath. After creating the second largest empire when it came to size, in 1227, Genghis Khan suddenly died from a cause unknown to most historians. After several failed invasions and the end of multiple important dynasties within the Mongol Empire. The Mongol Yuan dynasty was overthrown by the Chinese Ming dynasty. Instead of uprising against oppressive powers in medieval times, it was more common to fight fire with fire, which would end up in a juggling of power with other tribes and sometimes within the tribe. Instead of performing a coup, they would pointlessly fight over power for many centuries to come. Capitalism, the enemy of tyranny, had originated in the 1400s in Great Britain and within the Netherlands, and is characterized by little to no control over the economy and trade by the government. This new system solved a lot of problems of the flawed system that we call a totalitarian dictatorship. But in recoil, the rise of new problems within the system became apparent, which is what makes for capitalism the lesser of the two evils. This new political system gave much more freedom than tyrannical political systems did. This can also turn into a negative thing and be abused, which makes for more illegal trades. The huge problem was, and still is, drug deals happening without the government making a big deal out of. As most people involved in the trading of illicit substances are very careful when they operate. Although those things may be illegal, capitalism allows for more freedom and room for illegal activities to occur. When a person commits a crime in a capitalist country, only they have to receive punishment for what they've done. In capitalist countries, they allow for opposing parties to challenge the current governing parties' ideals and laws, instead of total oppression for the opposing parties in a totalitarian regime. Capitalism lets you have more control over your life choices. Whereas in the higher evil, an average citizen within the tyranny has little to no control over their own life. In this sense, these oppressive governments and its dictator are merely treating their country's people as if they're nothing more than livestock in a constantly abusive relationship with their farmer, with its farmer. Fast forward a couple hundred years from the medieval times, there was a certain political figure named Adolf Hitler, which some may debate if he was a tyrant or not, but he definitely displayed some of the traits of a tyrant. He was not born a brutal tyrant. He became one from killing 6 million Jewish people. He was certainly a dictator, and at one point or another, whether he was anti-Semitic or not, he gave hope to the people of Germany for a brief period. The aftermath to his reign was the cause of the end of World War II, which was also the cause of the downfall from his dictatorship status and his life. Kim Jong-un is a name I can imagine most people have heard of. And if not, he is the current leader of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. And as many of tyrants have done in the past, Kim Jong-un and his family have been crushing any opposing power that opposes them. North Korea has the most strict and inhumane set of laws compared to any other country at the moment. Whether they're under a totalitarian, whether they are under a totalitarian dictatorship or not, as well as being known for the further development of nuclear weapons. The amount of inhumanity that goes on within the country is skin-crawling. If someone in a Northern Korean family were to commit, or the government would consider a crime, not just them, but their families can also be immediately sent to jail, whether or not they even knew anything about the crime or not. Behind the oppressive dictatorship and a highly bogged up military lies an impoverished state. There is a law that states private enterprise of any kind is officially banned in North Korea, which only causes a hindrance in the economy of where North Korea is 2% of South Korea's gross domestic product. Citizens of North Korea anonymously describe the country of North Korea to be a place where the majority of people struggle for such necessities such as food and medicine. According to Kim Jong-un, it makes it criminal to want to escape this abomination that North Koreans call Jeonseong Inminjunjung Gongwaguk. Thousands upon thousands of refugees are attempting to leave North Korea each year by escaping the border. People would rather risk dying than to live in a cesspool called North Korea. Being caught leaving the border will end you and your family up in a jail that violates 10 out of the 11 of the basic human rights, or face execution. Religion is very suppressed in North Korea, unless the religion you practice is Juche. It is a hybrid religion consisting of Marxism and Korean nationalism, conveniently founded by a descendant of Kim Jong-un. Throughout all this tyranny, Mr. Un and his subordinates are smiling and unironically believing that what his regime is doing is the right thing. Kim Jong-un is an eyesore. He is an eyesore that the world has tried to come to terms with time and time again, with little to no progress. Due to his military power and overwhelming tyrannical oppression, Kim Jong-un is the endgame tyrant. In saying this, Kim has the power to potentially end the game to all games. It's very Earth itself, meaning the aftermath equals to 0. Capitalism is in no way perfect. It's quite the opposite. But in no way is it comparable to the absolute power of the tyranny, loss of freedom, oppression, fearing for your family's life every day. These are all things that a citizen within a totalitarian dictatorship is forced to deal with every day. I would much rather prefer my freedom in my flawed first world country than being held hostage by the reins of the absolute law of the tyranny that is North Korea, Nazi Germany, or the Mongol Empire, wouldn't you?